We start in the Middle East, where Israel's military says it's killed prominent Al Jazeera correspondent Anas al-Sharif in a strike in Gaza City, which also claimed the lives of 4 of his colleagues. The broadcaster said that the strike hit a tent for reporters outside the Al-Shifa hospital. Al Jazeera describes the attack as punishment for al-Sharif's extensive reporting from northern Gaza. Israel claims he was the leader of a Hamas cell planning rocket attacks, something strongly denied by the Qatar-based news organisation. Also killed in the strike was another Al Jazeera correspondent, Mohammed Qreiqeh, along with cameramen Ibrahim Zaher, Mohammed Noufal and Moamen Aliwa. Well, in a moment, I'll be speaking to the managing editor of Al Jazeera. Before that, though, reaction from our international editor, Jeremy Bowen, who was about to go on air when he heard the news.
Yeah, I'm just looking at the various WhatsApp messages at the moment, and it seems clear now, it's been confirmed not just from Gaza but by the Israel Defense Forces, the IDF themselves, that they hit the Al Jazeera tent in the grounds of the Shifa hospital in Gaza City. So the 2 Al Jazeera correspondents, Anas al-Sharif and Mohammed Qreiqeh, have been killed, along with 2 cameramen and a driver who came, I think, from a local video provider. The Israelis say that Anas was masquerading, as they put it, as a journalist. Now, about a week ago, the Arabic language spokesman for the Israel Defense Forces, the IDF, said essentially that he was a dangerous terrorist. Al Jazeera put out a very strong statement saying that they were putting his life in danger, they were inciting against him and, of course, denying the accusations. The Council for Protection of Journalists, or Committee, I should say, for Protection of Journalists, put out a statement too, saying that his life was now in danger. I think he also said this could be a prelude to my assassination. Now, the Israelis have been under a lot of pressure about their attitude towards free reporting out of Gaza. Journalists like myself are not allowed in. Al Jazeera have had a big team in there. As I understand it now, their entire team in Gaza City has been killed, but they had a big team there because these were Palestinian journalists who lived there, were based there, were there on the 7th of October and have been reporting and working ever since. And so they have been able to cover things on the day-to-day, rather than, in my case, as I'm doing now, reporting to you from Jerusalem. So what do we have? So we have the news confirmed that these 5 have been killed in an Israeli strike against Anas al-Sharif, who they allege, very strongly denied by his employers, by himself and by many others, that he was a terrorist, but that's the Israeli allegation. So today they have gone ahead and killed him.
Jeremy Bowen there in Jerusalem. Joining me now is the managing editor of Al Jazeera, Mohammed Moawad. Thank you very much for joining us today on this incredibly difficult day, I'm sure, Mohammed. Condolences to you and your colleagues, the families of those who have been killed. Let me start by asking, what do you think the reason for these killings was?
Silencing a journalist who was the only voice left in Gaza City, reporting and uncovering the atrocities there. Anas al-Sharif and Mohammed Qreiqeh were brave journalists who refused several times our pressure to stay safe and try to avoid covering the story if that's endangering his life. Anas and Mohammed Qreiqeh and our team in Gaza has been subject to smear campaigns, intimidations by the Israeli government and the IDF from the beginning of the war, which intensified a week ago by targeting and threatening Anas himself. But Anas said simply that he will continue the coverage. I remind you that one day Anas almost fainted from hunger in front of the camera, and we laid pressure on him to take a risk, and he took a risk, and he received tens of messages from Gazans asking about him, why you aren't on air, and you are our voice. You are the voice of the voiceless. Give us the voice to speak about what's going on. The military campaign is intensifying in Gaza City, and the killing of Anas al-Sharif now is devastating, not only because this is not the first time the Israeli government and the IDF is targeting a journalist, more than 200 killed, and no international journalist is allowed to enter Gaza, and the delegitimization of local journalists in Gaza is going on by the Israeli government. Anas was killed, and Mohammed Qreiqeh were killed by the IDF in their tent. They weren't in a front line or in a military zone or something like that. They were in the last fragile refuge left to them after months of reporting through famine and rubble and the relentless bombardment to this area. They died where they slept between tasks. They had a live DTL and they were just taking a quick rest for another one, and they were targeted. Maybe Anas and Mohammed Qreiqeh did not imagine that the Israeli government, that these threats by the Israeli government would be for real, and they would be targeted in a tent. Maybe they would try to target them and say this is a collateral damage in one of the military zones. But it's shocking that the Israeli government and the IDF is targeting a journalist whose work is corroborated by news organizations around the globe. Not a single day I haven't received a request from BBC, CNN, ABC, NBC asking for airing footage that Anas captured from inside Jabalia, where the atrocities has been committed there since the beginning of the war. His work is corroborated by international journalism institutions. His name is on the front pages of so many newspapers in the US, in the UK, Financial Times, New York Times, the Washington Post. Look up his name. He's not active as a journalist for Al Jazeera. He's a journalist for people in Gaza. He is well-known and a prominent journalist who has millions of followers on his social media platforms. He's an icon for Gazan people. He has been reporting what's happening in Gaza since the beginning of the war. He's a young journalist who doesn't know anything but to go on air and tell the story of the people.
Mohammed, Israel has claimed that Anas al-Sharif was not really a journalist. They claim that he was in fact a leader within Hamas. I know that has been rejected by Al Jazeera, but please, I'd love to hear your response to that in your own words.
I mean, it's smearing a journalist and accusing a journalist of being a Hamas asset isn't something new that we're hearing from the IDF or the Israeli government. Anas was doing one thing. He was reporting and giving voice to the voiceless from inside the city of Gaza. His work is on air, live, all the day. He is the only voice left from inside the Gaza city. Your correspondent, prominent international correspondent, just put it right. He said that I'm not allowed to report on what's happening in Gaza. I'm just reporting from Jerusalem. That's what the Israeli government wants. They want to silence any voice coming out of Gaza City. And this comes at the same time, at the same moment, they are unleashing a new campaign in this area. It means that they don't want any voice to uncover what's going on there, as they are preparing to intensify their action on the ground. So I wouldn't call that unfounded allegations. I would just ignore completely what they are saying, because Anas al-Sharif is a well-known young journalist from Gaza who has been telling the story since the beginning of the war, and that's what the whole world know. Look up his name. You wouldn't see anything associated with his name but reporting from Jabalia, reporting from Gaza City, reporting from other areas in Gaza.
And he and his colleagues were the only international journalists able to operate within Gaza. What are your fears about what their elimination means for the rest of the world's ability to hear from the people of Gaza?
What I really fear is that something is dying in Gaza beyond the bodies. I mean, journalism itself is dying every day. The profession that is meant to illuminate the world is being buried with its witnesses. We've been saying that since the beginning of the war. Palestinian journalists are being killed at a rate unmatched in modern history. You're talking about over 200 journalists were killed in Gaza. I mean, no international journalists is allowed. Local journalists are being delegitimized by the Israeli government, saying they are terrorists, they are Hamas operatives, and they're being then targeted. So there was a time when the killing of a single journalist stopped the news cycles and it triggered the international outcry. It is unfortunate that you are inviting me today not to discuss the fact that no international journalist is allowed to enter Gaza since the beginning of the war, in one of the most important stories in the Middle East, the same area, the same region where thousands of journalists were traveling to cover other wars or other conflicts like the Arab Spring, for example. I mean, we are here talking about another loss of a journalist, and we've been talking about that before. You have respectively invited me to speak about that before, and we are going to be talking about that on and on. And now something darker is happening. They are not only dying by bombs or bullets, they are dying by starvation. They are dying by targeted killing, assassination. I mean, colleagues have told us that their children faint from hunger. Some choose between charging a phone to file a story or boiling a contaminated water to drink. And Gaza journalism is no longer shaped by access to sources as we all knew that. I mean, it is shaped by the body's ability to endure one more day without food. And now they are threatening a journalist, and they are targeting him, and they are killing him, uh, in front of the whole world. And I mean, it's not only devastating; it's unimaginable that the whole world is watching that without even saying a word. I mean, the whole profession is under attack. The profession of journalism is under attack. News cycles has to concentrate on that. I mean, the international journalistic community not able to access Gaza and enter Gaza to cover this story. This is the beginning. This is the beginning of degrading the whole journalism profession by not allowing journalists to cover and uncover the atrocities happening in an area in the world. Uh, Tomorrow, a dictatorship would commit the same crimes without bearing allowing any journalist to cover, or even giving an idea about a backlash from the international community. And that's very dangerous for the democracies and for the whole world.
Indeed. Mohammed Qreiqeh, managing editor of Al Jazeera, thank you again for taking the time to speak to us, and again, our condolences on the loss of your colleagues there in Gaza.